Raegan. Oh, you're on mute there. Hey, I'm excited to see you.
I'm excited to see you. This has been a long time coming, Kalinda.
I know, it's been forever. I sold a house, I moved. You got a whole bunch of stuff going on. So thanks for showing up. What's that?
I sold the house I moved to.
Did you? Oh, very cool. I love it. And so thanks for showing up to do this interview today. My goal is kind of to be able to ask you kind of what got you into reflexology, what your experience was going through the course, how things have changed since, what's going on with your world. And of course, we have to mention your book because I want you to do that too. Okay, so what got you to register for reflexology in the first place? Like, it feels like forever ago.
It seems like forever ago. It was 6 years ago, I guess now, hey? I know, right? What got me to register was the fact that being a nurse, people weren't getting I couldn't give my clients and my patients answers to their pain. So I was like, I'm very much I will follow up. I'm a problem solver and all that. So when reflexology kind of showed up in my realm, I was like, this is it. This is where it's going to take me. So I went there, met you. It was instant. It was like, you had me at hello kind of thing. I remember saying, and then just realizing that my patients, my clients, it was the answer I've been looking for, then asking that they could get pain relief that a medication sometimes can't provide them. Because now as I'm evolving, I'm realizing that pain medications are a band-aid and they serve a purpose at the time, but they also have a limitation. So when you ask the body to naturally do what it already is like programmed to do, and that's what reflexology to me is that I'm just saying, hey, pressing buttons and saying, hey, you know how to do this, remember that you can do this, and just asking it to rebalance itself. So when my patients started getting pain relief and started getting off like the high-end pain medications like hydromorphine, Dilaudid, and just even Tylenol every day, like a lot of our seniors are on that, right? So it's all this polypharmacy that as I was starting to do reflexology on them, we were able to work with the pharmacies or the pharmacy technicians and wean them off of a lot of these pain medications because the body was now balancing itself and doing what it's supposed to do. So then it just opened my world up and I was like, I'm sold, and I've been sold ever since. So
that's so cool. You mentioned hydromorphone. It's funny because the side pain, whenever my side pain shows up and I go to emergency to get it checked out to make sure it's nothing, they try to give me hydromorphone, and they might as well have given me a Tic Tac. Like, my body just has never responded to pharmaceutical medication, which is why I had to go search for a whole bunch of different answers. And it's really amazing how sometimes the body just will not let you put a Band-Aid on it. Like, there's no Band-Aid. They ain't got a Band-Aid that works for this temple over here. So I remember that when you went through the reflexology course and you were working with clients, you had some pretty amazing testimonials when you were going through. It was wild. And so
that's why I had to write a book on it, because
I know, sore feet. And so let's talk about the book. And so you got certified, you were using it, and then you got inspired to write a book. And so can you show us that book again? Sore feet.
What your feet are saying.
Yeah, I love it. And where can people get a copy of that? On Amazon?
It's on Amazon. That's the main place. And then you just order it through Freeze and Press is who my publisher is. So yeah.
Nice.
Yeah. Of course I have copies, but so if I run into people and they're like, hey, I want to read this, of course I give them a copy. But easy online, for sure.
Love it.
So in like my book though, like I was inspired to do it because I'm like, when me as a nurse, I knew the answers were there. And then when I started seeing the pain relief and I saw the changes in like super edematous feet shrinking just with one reflexology treatment, like I know we talked the parameters 6 to 12 sessions, right? But when you're seeing results in the first couple, it was like mind blowing, even for me. Like I had to stay professional and be like, oh yeah, I knew this happened, but it was like, some of them were just so like mind-blowing that I had to put them in a book, and I had to have people read what actually happens to like through the science. And I ended up, a lot of my research, because I have a nurse brain, I actually got these 2 books by Barbara and Kevin Coons.
Oh, and the research that they're doing right now, isn't it mind blowing? Like with the MRIs and stuff. Oh my God.
I need to keep up on that. I've been so off social media for a while and just like doing my own thing. I had to do a lot of healing myself on it. That's a whole nother topic. But anyway, I love that it's evidence-based reflexology research. That was really good for the brain, as well as medical applications of reflexology. So what I do now is I took the foundation that you taught me, the recipe, right? And then I just add my wisdom and knowledge through this. And now I've created essentially, most of my clients get 2 sessions a week of reflexology, kind of like that loading dose of an antibiotic.
Yeah.
And then they come in. Well, I have a program that does 2 sessions a week for 4 weeks. So that just kind of loads them up, makes them feel good. And that's based on some of the scientific evidence here, that I'm not treating the condition, but it's a whole, like it seems to be a standard process. So, and the clients were getting the most. They weren't going 2 steps forward, 1 step back, where sometimes if you have reflexology only say once a month or every 2 weeks. So this way it kind of kept them kosher and almost moving a step forward each time. That's why we kind of do the 2 a week. And it seems very beneficial. And my clients have exceptional results. But then I haven't taken your emotional reflexology, but I do components of it. Like it's my own recipe. Right? And with that, like when you did the emotional reflexology on me in our when we were students, I was mind blown again. So reflexology, I'm so open-minded to reflexology. I took the foot reflexology, I took hand reflexology, and then now it's just like it keeps going. The emotional reflexology is just kind of my own intuitiveness now, and it's grown. But then also now I've really, as I went on a healing journey, I really had to get in touch with my womb space and the feminine area. And I've gotten into sexual reflexology now with all the points that are in our wombs. And it just like keeps expanding. So you said to me, and it's in my book, it's a quote that you said to me, like, you have wings. I can't wait to see where they take you. You got healing. That's stayed with me since then. So
and it's really interesting, like because we all have masculine and feminine parts of our body, and I can understand how, if a piece is wounded, how that disconnects the balance. So when you say sexual reflexology, it's not like prostitution that you're talking about. You're talking about really being able to reconnect and be able to reproduce based on how we were supposed to be, correct?
Yeah. And we have like pressure points on our hands and our feet. We have them in our womb spaces, and we have emotions in those spaces. So how do we move that energy around? And how does if you have a male partner or the staff that could be in those spots, poking on those spots, it becomes this huge like out of this world healing modality. And it's been really epic in the journey. So, but it started with foot reflexology and finding there, that it's waking space, it's waking up like numbness. And when women, for me, I've had 5 children. Well, I'm also being a nurse. It's like, okay, Kegels, they're not working effectively. Okay, why not? Why are we not healing, right? Like, why are these parts of the bodies not healing? And it's because there's stuck emotions in the most sacred spot of a woman, or right? Prostate, another huge one for me, is like, that's where men keep most of their secrets, right? They keep them down in their prostate. Well, why do we have such a high level of prostate cancer? Well, we're stuck emotions, trapped energy, right? So it's been an epic journey.
It has been an epic journey. You know, it was crazy because one of the things that I had been battling for the longest time, well, first off, I get to deal with this thing called perimenopause right now. Let me tell you, that is one wild journey I was not expecting. But while I was kind of going through research to figure things out, I ended up going up to his name is Evan McCarville. He's actually in Melfort, and he does live and dried blood cell analysis. And they take the cell, and you can actually see how the body is mapped in our blood cells. Isn't that wild? And so I'm like, man, that's like how it's mapped on the feet, the hands, the face, the ears, and obviously the womb, and any other area. I'm like, oh, it's so interconnected. It just blows my mind. And I think it's so fascinating, and I absolutely love it. But yeah, I am grateful that you got your wings and you're flying and you're learning and you're creating and you're developing and you're sharing and you're helping people feel better. Isn't that amazing?
It's if you're to have a purpose in life, that's definitely mine. As I came in as a nurse, but that's just the foundation. Like, it's been so much that. And as we're talking about all these different areas of the body that have reflexology points, yes, we know, like, there's meridians and there's the Chinese acupressure points and all that kind of stuff. But I believe I haven't found it yet, but our sacrum too is something really huge and special, because for me, it always locked up when I was pregnant, right? But now, as I even press on it now, it affects the front end. Well, yeah, there's nerve endings, it makes sense, right? But it's like, no, there's something, it's like almost like it could be its own mapped out area. And I just haven't got my finger on it quite yet, but I push on points and I'm like, oh, yep, okay, yeah, you're doing something to the front area that, yeah, they're totally interconnected, and in a way of reflexology type thing.
I know, I remember, well, and it is, because after you take the course, all of a sudden your head starts thinking in different ways, and you can see how things were really interconnected, right? And I remember one time I had a client that came in, and on the back of the feet. So if you take the course from they're from Sweden. I can't remember their names right now. Oof, it's stress reflexology. And a lot of people that get stressed out, this part of their feet get really, really tender, right? Like, and I noticed that with clients, like after you do 1,000 sessions, you just notice consistencies or whatever, right? That's how your head starts to
map it all together.
And people with the people with the burning feet, hold on, I'm having a brain fart. I can't remember.
You're gonna make part two. Like if they have like diabetic neuropathy, like
neuropathy.
That?
Yeah.
Okay.
So you know how when people have neuropathy and their feet are burning?
Yeah.
It's always in this side of the big toe that it's really painful. And if you can get that worked out, they always have really, it's like so wild the way that you can notice things when you are starting to be able to piece it together. And you're right, it all kind of begins with foundation of the foot reflexology.
Yeah, so my session, it's not just like, they don't just sit back, like we end up talking throughout the whole thing. I almost kind of call myself like the foot whisperer. I'm like, okay, your feet are telling me stuff that you're probably not write down on your medical for. You're always just shocked by it, right? One thing is all the brain reflexes, those people are always in their heads, like they're total like
I know.
Right? It's like, I'm massaging your brain 10 times, guys, just so you know that. and
if you count the spine.
Right? What'd you say? What about the spine?
I said you're massaging it 10 times 11 if you count where it is in the spine.
Oh, I'll add that one. Yeah. I forgot. Yeah. So yeah, and you can just see, like, I had one client, he was in my office and just wired right to the max, right? Like even wouldn't like calm himself but as I was starting a session and we were just chilling, he was asleep by the second foot, but he was totally like, his one whole side was just, I was just really rubbing his brain a few extra times there. Yeah, that man fell asleep by the second foot. And I was like, yeah, buddy, you needed yeah. So his mom sent them to me.
Oh, isn't that, it's neat, especially when people coming in, they're really wired, right? Like life has got them and they're really in their heads. To be able to watch them unwind and actually be able to relax and fall asleep and get some moments in parasympathetic mode rather than always being in fight and flight, right? Like that's kind of rewarding. And so what would you say would be the 3 most rewarding things that if you had to pick it out, what would be the top 3 best things that reflexology adds to your life since you found it?
To my life?
Yeah.
Self-care. I call it Reflexology 101, and I just give myself reflexology if I have to. I
Yeah.
get to also give it to my children. So I know the importance of pain relief, the body rebalancing itself, as well as mental health, like the way it calms that into your parasympathetic, right? It calms you. So for different situations in our life, like I co-parent, right? And the homes are completely different. So my kids, they get reflexology probably once a week. Like they just start giving me their feet because they need to decompress and change that energy. So that's beautiful in my life. Like it's such a gift. The pain relief, like, or my one boy right now, he's puking. Well, I don't like to give medications all the time for that and stop that, right? So I give him reflexology and we help balance that out, and ends up being something emotional that he's tucking in there too. It's not just always a bug. So it's, to me, that's what my business is. It's whole health healing now. It's like, so I'm going to give you a perspective. We're going to look at the medications. We're going to look at what's manifesting it. And it's going to be emotional, physical, as well as
Nutritional. Yeah.
And what are you eating as well? Like all your stress in your life. Yeah. So it's huge.
Oh, yeah.
So I gave you 3 there, but I don't know. That's
it's good. And so having those tools to help yourself, help those that you love, plus helping your clients is what I'm hearing more than anything else.
One of my favorite moments is a little boy was in emergency and his mom had to step out and take a phone call, and he was wired, like he was hurt and he was with strangers, like all these nurses are strangers to him. So I just grabbed his feet and I started rubbing them, like giving him some Reflexology 101 emergency care. And he calmed right down and he was able to just like, it's the best, because what normally you do, Ativan, let them just be stressed, like, and it was just this, like, I got to nurture him without, I got to help calm him without any like invasiveness, I guess, or unbalancing his body. I was using his natural ability to balance himself.
The way that I kind of look at it in those moments is I do think that there needs to be a balance between preventative medicine and reactive medicine, right? And a lot of times I feel like people get caught up in sick care. They're sick and they want the Band-Aid, right? And the one thing that I think reflexology does is it helps people to bring healthcare back. So the choices that you make, if you need medication, that's great.
Yeah.
But you're able to work with the body in order to be able to get it to balance as best as it can with balance, right?
Yeah. And most of my clients now, it's not people that are just wanting a foot rub, right? Like these are people that have actually that have fallen, like haven't got the answers in healthcare or sick care, like that atmosphere that they've had to look for outside of them. And that's what's coming up more and more now, is that the answers aren't, you can't Band-Aid anymore. Even reflexology, if I have clients that are trying to use me as their Band-Aid, because you can also use reflexology as a sort of, right? Like they get too dependent on that because they don't want to do the work themselves. So I just educate them and re-empower them back into that it's them. They can make these choices. But what I'm seeing though is Western medicine doesn't have the answers. People, like if you've been always using Band-Aids and always being cut and pasted, now you're being asked to find the other things that are more natural. And so that's the clients coming to see me now, are the ones that are looking for that one more, like what's the next step? I'm feeling more called. I got to get out there and talk more about this in that aspect, like how we bridge Western medicine and like the two medicines, the two therapies, the two modalities in a way that the answers are more, there's more clarity on how to empower yourself to heal. So
for sure.
Yeah.
I like it. And so whereabouts is your clinic, Raegan?
I just do it out of home now, just because we sold the farm and now we're like in transition. My ex-husband is an RCMP officer, so he's transferring. So we're kind of going with them. So I'm just doing it out of my home, or I do mainly appointments in other people's homes too. Like
Yeah.
I love my seniors and I go to them. It's just, it was part of I was a foot care nurse too. I dropped that part of it, but yeah, I like home visits. To me, it's like you go into their home and it's their atmosphere and they get to just relax in their home.
Yeah, but where are you, what town, where are you located?
Sorry. I'm still down by Esterhazy. We're just down at, yeah. So, and Esther, Yorkton, Mooseman, this kind of area. Yeah.
Okay, there you go.
Thank
and if somebody wanted to get a hold of you in Esterhazy, Yorkton, somewhere in that kind of area, what's the website again?
Well, I haven't kept the website up. This is me. I had to do a huge healing, so I had to step back for like 2 years myself. So I let it kind of slide. But best way to get a hold of me is cell number, which is I have no problem people knowing it, 306-740-9198, or email r.redpath@outlook.com.
Good. I like it. Good. And so if somebody was interested in reflexology, or they were kind of thinking maybe this is the way to go, what is the one piece of advice that you would give to them?
Have a session done first.
Yeah.
It it'll answer a lot of questions for them.
Yeah.
Have a session done. See Clunder myself. No.
You could do that too. Well, and that's the interesting thing. Like Raegan, I have taught students that have never had a reflexology session. They just saw the course and like, yeah, I need to take this. Like literally their first treatment in history was in the reflexology course. I always find it so amazing how reflexology finds people. Like, how did it find you before the class? Do you remember?
Well, I had never had reflexology. I'm one of those people.
Okay. I didn't remember that piece, but yeah.
It just found me. It was literally, I think it was one of your post on
Facebook
is how it showed up. And I was going to do foot care, recertify in my foot care, and it lined up for the weekend because I was in foot care all week in Moose Jaw, and I was ending that at 3 o'clock on Friday, and then your class was starting at 6 o'clock on Friday night. Like it just went, whoop. It's like, you need to take this. It's here. I was after your deadline, and you're like, yeah, if you get the cash in, let's go. Like, we're going to do this. I have a space. I'm like, oh my God. So it just aligned. Like you said, reflexology, just when you need it, it shows up for you. And it's probably first for yourself though.
Yeah,
like that.
I agree.
As a healer, if I'm called to heal, it starts here though.
Yeah, I agree 100%. Oh, that's awesome. Well, thanks so much for the interview. It has been an absolute pleasure catching up. It's been a wild ride watching the journey, and I wasn't wrong about your angel wing. It's awesome.
And you've been a magnificent teacher, and you continue to be. Like, I follow you, and I just like, like you're just this like queen of reflexology, and I'm really I bow down to what you've created for all of us. So thank you.
Stand up, girl. Awesome.
Okay.